Good morning. Today in Israel, 5 terrorists were arrested in overnight raids. The Samaria military court released the father of the Bnei Brak terrorist, a crazy Arab news report about the American administration. The Blue and White and New Hope parties may be planning a joint run in the upcoming elections, and an open letter warning Yair Lapid about Biden's upcoming visit to Israel. I'm Justin, and this is the Israel Guys Daily. Welcome to the Israel Guys Daily, where we cut through the fog of fake news to bring you the accurate headlines from Israel. Good morning, guys. It's another beautiful day here in the land of Israel, reporting to you from the heartland of Israel, from the beautiful Mount of Blessing. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, or if you're just listening on your favorite podcast platform, and hit that little notification bells. Jumping right in here with our first headline, 5 terrorists were arrested last night in overnight raids. So the IDF is again conducting counterterrorism, doing their job to protect the citizens of Israel. They did many counterterrorism activities in a number of locations in Judea and Samaria, including the towns of Chizmi, Danva, Dura, and Danon. So they apprehended 3 terror suspects in the town of Chizmi. And in the village of Danva, they apprehended an individual suspect he was suspected of shooting live fire at IDF soldiers last Friday near another town. They also confiscated a Carlo machine gun from him. They also caught an individual suspected of involvement in terrorist activities in the town of Dura. The town of Danon, they arrested a wanted terror suspect. So a total of 5 individuals suspected of involvement in terrorist activities were, thank God, apprehended overnight. The suspects were then transferred to security forces for questioning. Thank God that the IDF are doing their job and that there were no injuries reported from the IDF. Military court releases father of killer who praised son's terror attack. So back in March, there was a horrific terror attack in Bnei Brak where 5 people were murdered by this man, but then his father actually praised the terrorist attack and put out lots of social media videos praising the violence. He engaged serious incitement. This is the reason he was arrested in the first place, and he encouraged further attacks. But this just shows the humanity of Israel, and even when they're dealing with terrorists, there's still humanity. The military judge ruled that, quote, "It is difficult to judge the conduct of a bereaved father." Galei Tzahal's IDF radio military correspondent Daron Kadosh reported that the terrorist's father expressed full support for his son's actions after the attack and continued to incite others to carry out further attacks in the days that followed. And all these videos, as I said before, were posted on social media, and they garnered like tens of thousands of views. Time and time again, he praised the heroic martyrs, as he put it, at the height of the wave of terror, which claimed about 20 lives back in the spring. So about 2.5 weeks ago, an indictment was filed against him for offenses of incitement and support for an enemy organization. The military prosecution requested that his detention be extended until the end of the proceedings in his case, claiming that he was dangerous and that he might flee or escape the trial, which seems fair enough. But the military court in Samaria would have nothing to do with this. They did not accept the prosecution's position, and they released the defendant to his home, while of course forbidding him to use social media. That's the least they could do. Guys, in just a second, we're going to talk about a crazy Arab news report. But first, I'm going to tell you about Atlas VPN. I'm sure you've heard of VPN, but do you actually know what it is? It stands for Virtual Private Network. It basically makes all your internet traffic travel through an encrypted tunnel. It basically protects you from spying and public Wi-Fi dangers, and hides your IP address and your online activities. You can even set your device like on a virtual location. So say you're located in Israel and you need content from the United States that somehow will not play in Israel for some reason. You can set your device's location for the United States. And whenever you're on the internet, it protects you from scammers, hackers, identity theft, all of those things. Guys, right now, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount. When I say huge, I mean huge discount. It means you can get a 3-year subscription right now for just $1.99 per month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Guys, time is running out, so get your deal by clicking the link in the description below. Having a VPN is basically like physically when you have like a fence around your yard or a security system for your house, which sadly in the world today, most people have, I would say. But having a VPN on the internet is basically that same thing, except for the internet. Atlas VPN watches out for you in case you ever have a security breach as well. Data Breach Monitor is also another security feature from Atlas VPN. It's designed to track any data breaches related to your online accounts. It automatically scans leaked databases and informs you of any past or recent breaches where your personal information, such as your email address, username, password, or social security numbers, was exposed. So basically, if any of your private or sensitive information has been compromised or exposed, Atlas VPN takes care of all of that for you. They've got your back. Again, if you're a regular user of the internet, which I'm sure a lot of you are, you want to make sure that you do it in a secure way. You need a VPN. Guys, just like you lock your doors at night and you have a fence around your yard, you need a VPN for the internet. Again, Atlas VPN is running a huge discount right now. It means you can get a 3-year subscription for just $199 a month with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Time is running out, so get your deal right now, guys. Click the link in the description below. All right, moving on. According to an Arab newspaper report, President Biden will, believe it or not, seek compensation for terrorists whose guilt has not been proven when it comes to Israel. So the Al-Sharq Al-Awsat, wow, that's a hard name to pronounce. I'm sure I did not say that right. This newspaper reported on Sunday, I think they were citing sources actually from the White House. They said that, quote, during his visit to Israel and the Palestinian Authority this week, U.S. President Joe Biden will emphasize his commitment to a two-state solution, announce further economic assistance to the Palestinian Authority, and work to renew the peace process. I think we all expected that. We knew that President Biden is committed to a two-state solution and he wants to help the Palestinian Authority wherever he can. But what I'm about to tell you, you might not have expected. According to this newspaper report, the U.S. administration expressed concern about the security situation in Judea and Samaria in the context of the alleged killing of more than 70 Palestinian Arabs, including the Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh, who is also an American citizen. I'm not sure what who these 70 Palestinian Arabs they're talking about. The IDF, as you know, conducts counterterrorism activities and they take out terrorists. Like, this is justice, but they do not just go around killing Palestinians at random. That is a known fact. And there is zero evidence, let me tell you, zero evidence that Israel killed the Al Jazeera journalist Shireen Abu Akleh. And actually, there is a little bit of evidence that the Palestinians killed her, but we're not going to get into that right now. The report further said that in the preliminary talks with Israel, American sources expressed their opposition also to the demolition of homes by Israel, the evacuation of Palestinian Arab families from their homes, and the implementation of unilateral measures. Guys, as we know, Israel does not just go destroying random Palestinian houses. They destroy the homes of the families of terrorists while the terrorists are sitting in jail. This is right retribution. This is justice for these terrorists. The newspaper also noted that the American sources are demanding that Israel compensate Palestinian Arab terrorists being held in prison over charges that have not been proven regarding their involvement in acts of terrorism. Biden administration, I think Israel knows what they're doing. I think they got this with these terrorists sitting in jail. They're waiting for questioning, and if anyone's proven innocent, of course they're going to go free. They're not just holding people for no reason. So I think the Biden administration needs to stay out of this. This is none of their business. The left-wing organization Peace Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. They hung a sign this morning in Tel Aviv that unfortunately had a PLO flag on it. So they hung a massive sign in central Tel Aviv this morning ahead of President Joe Biden's visit to Israel. The sign had the Israeli flag next to the PLO flag, and it reads, President Biden, welcome to the two states we love most. A spokesperson for Peace Now also said in a statement, quote, we welcome President Biden, a true friend of Israel, and thank him for his efforts to advance Israel's interest and to strengthen Israel. The sign which we hung up is a reminder to the president, a strong supporter of two states, that a Palestinian state is first and foremost in our interest, as Israelis in the region can never have a good future without peace between us and our Palestinian neighbors. As you all know, President Biden is definitely not a true friend of Israel, and he's actually receiving the Israeli Presidential Medal of Honor, which is quite ridiculous, as you guys know. And the statements that Peace Now we're making here are absolutely ridiculous, that he is a true friend of Israel, and they're thanking him for his efforts to advance Israel's interests, which he is absolutely not doing. Moving on here, guys, a little bit about the elections. Blue and White and New Hope parties, I think they're planning on running together in the next elections, attempting to hopefully form a coalition together. According to a Channel 12 news report, the Blue and White and New Hope parties are on the verge of reaching an agreement to run together in the elections for the 25th Knesset in November. According to this report, Blue and White Chairman Benny Gantz will be first in the joint list, while New Hope Chairman Gideon Sa'ar would be second. Blue and White would have two-thirds of the seats on the list, and New Hope would have one-third. The agreement follows polls showing the New Hope party struggling to cross the electoral threshold. So I guess New Hope's thinking right now that we're not going to make it by ourselves. So they're trying to join in parties with Blue and White to hopefully make something out of this in the next elections. Moving along, Prime Minister Yair Lapid, he's been kind of friendly recently. Well, I don't know if it's friendly, but he's met with several world leaders in advance of President Biden's visit. First, he spoke with the Turkish President Erdogan. During their conversation, Erdogan congratulated Lapid and wished him success as prime minister. Erdogan also praised Lapid's recent visit to Ankara, which he dubbed successful. So, Yair Lapid recently went to Ankara, Turkey. Lapid wished Erdogan a happy Eid al-Adha and offered holiday blessings of peace and success for the Turkish people. Eid al-Adha, I actually just found out this today, is the second and bigger of the two main holidays celebrated in Islam. It's the holiday where they celebrate where Ibrahim was willing to sacrifice his son Ismail. Sound familiar? Obviously stolen from the Bible story where God told Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac on Mount Moriah, and then he provided a ram instead. We all know the story. But here they're saying that Ibrahim was willing to sacrifice his son Ismail, or Ishmael, Abraham's other son, as an act of obedience to Allah's will, and Allah then provided a lamb instead. The whole thing obviously stolen from the Bible story. Prime Minister Yair Lapid also thanked the president for the cooperation between their countries on thwarting attempted terror attacks against Israelis and Turkey. As you know, there was a big threat in Turkey a few weeks ago from Iranian terror attacks, and thank God that the Israeli government, the Mossad, and the Turkish government were able to work together and to thwart many of these attacks. The two leaders also emphasized that Israel-Turkey relations are of great importance for security, the economy, and stability in the Middle East. Obviously, the president wished the prime minister success in his new role and noted the recent meeting in Cairo in which the two discussed a wide range of topics. Lots of normal stuff between political conversations, obviously being nice to each other. The two leaders discussed bilateral and regional matters and emphasized the importance of the peace agreement between Egypt and Israel, which laid the foundation for the country's strategic relations and is a central pillar of regional stability. So, yeah, just lots of nice, normal stuff going back and forth. Guys, I want to read part of an open letter to Prime Minister Yair Lapid from former Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danon. I think this is really important. He's talking about Biden's upcoming visit to Israel, and he's warning Yair Lapid about unprecedented stuff that is going to take place. It says, quote, "This coming Wednesday, for the first time, U.S. President Joe Biden will land in Israel. We always welcome every American president. The U.S. president's visit to Israel is a very important political event. However, it already appears that the visit will include two unprecedented political concessions. One, Israeli consent to a Palestinian representation at the Allenby crossing, and then tacit consent and even encouragement by Lapid's office to Biden's visit to Palestinian institutions in East Jerusalem." He then went on to say, "An American president has never visited East Jerusalem. Neither Bush the father nor the son, not Clinton, not Trump, and not even Obama. The meaning of such a visit is to give the green light to the Americans to challenge Israel's sovereignty in Jerusalem. Lapid, as interim prime minister, has no mandate to allow such a move. I call on Lapid today to refrain from political concessions for a photo op with the President of the United States. Lapid, you have no mandate to relinquish Israeli sovereignty in Jerusalem. I think this a very important letter. Danny Danon is absolutely right. He has a lot of experience in touring around political figures and diplomats from the United States in the past, so he definitely knows what he's talking about. And this could be, there's unprecedented things that are planning on happening, and this could be very dangerous for Israel. So Lapid needs to stand up and be strong, but I do have my doubts if he will do that, if Yair Lapid will be strong here. Guys, as we wrap up today, we have good news here in Israel. The 1 millionth tourist of 2022 arrives in Israel. Just over 4 months since coronavirus restrictions, which limited entry into Israel, were lifted, the 1 millionth tourist arrived in Israel. The tourist who was welcomed by the tourism ministry representatives is Belinda de Soyo Lee Marcelo, a resident of the United Arab Emirates. As you guys know, the tourism industry was majorly affected by the pandemic, but the current recovery is actually exceeding forecasts, which is absolutely amazing. The number of incoming tourists is increasing, and with it, income from tourism into the Israeli economy. According to the statistics just released, incoming tourism reached 244,500 tourist entries in June 2022, which is actually just 33% less than it was in June 2019, which was before the pandemic. So they're almost back up to normal since before the coronavirus pandemic. Based on the trend right now in the incoming tourism, it's expected that 2 million tourists will have arrived in Israel by the end of 2022. Guys, make sure to check out Atlas VPN. They have an amazing sale going on right now, and you do not want to miss it. Make sure you click the link in the description below to get your VPN. If you enjoyed today's show, be sure to subscribe here on YouTube, or if you're just listening on your favorite podcast platform, make sure to leave us a comment, write us a review, do all that good stuff. And make sure to come back every single day, Monday through Friday, for more daily news from Israel. As Christians, our mission is to stand unconditionally with the land and people of Israel. I'm Justin Hilton, and this is the Israel Guys Daily.